Good morning, folks. Kent Hovind here in the crew at Dinosaur Adventureland, December 20th, 2020. And it's Will's birthday today. So let's sing. How old, brother?
49.
49. I was 49 for a whole year one time. Amen. So let's sing the birthday song to Will. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. This is your birthday song. It isn't very long. Happy birthday, brother. You want to share a testimony, how long you've been here and how you like this place? And you can leave the hat on. This is Alabama. Okay, come on up. All right. Get rid of the globe here. He's got the whole world in his hands. Okay.
Yes, he does.
All right. Well, tell them how you heard about this place and what do you do here?
I actually learned about the place through my stepson and my wife, and my wife sent it to me.
Okay.
And that's how I actually learned about the cure to cancer, or stomach cancer, because I was dying from stomach cancer at the time.
So what did you do about the cancer?
I bought apricot seeds and ate them for about 2.5 months, and I was cured.
It's amazing. God said in Genesis 1, eat the fruit, the vegetables, and the seeds.
Yeah.
And we don't do that. And we die of diseases and wonder, well, people get to heaven. God, why did you let me die? He said, I put it in the first chapter. I figured you'd get that far. Anyway, well, good. So how you like Dinosaur Adventureland?
Well, I love it here. It's amazing.
You recommend people come visit?
Yeah, absolutely.
And the price?
Pretty good. It's free. I mean,
yeah.
I don't think anybody can afford it.
I think maybe if we paid them $5 to come, be even better.
Yeah, for them.
Yeah, for them. Yeah, okay. Thank you, brother. You've been a great blessing. You've been doing a lot of mechanic work and fixing all kinds of things for us out there. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, December 20th, we're the folks who believe the Bible is literally true and scientifically accurate, and the evolution theory is the dumbest and most dangerous religion in the history of the world. You got me in there?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
I hit a button by accident.
You hit a button. PhD, right? Push here, dummy. Okay. There's our old dining hall. Wait till you see the new one. How'd you guys like that last night in there, eating in the, it ain't done yet, but it's close. Okay. Getting closer. All right. We have Dinosaur Adventureland. The Bible says clearly in the 10 Commandments in Exodus 20, and God said, remember the Sabbath day, for in 6 days the Lord made heaven, the earth, the sea, and all that in them is. Dinosaurs lived with Adam and Eve. They were created at the same time. So were the stars, everything. He said it again in Exodus 31. So you forget about the COVID. You can vaccinate your kids against the dangerous evolution propaganda. Now, Steve, our special, we cannot possibly get it to them in time for Christmas, I don't think. Correct. But if you buy 2, should we just continue? They can still get a third one to give away for presents? Till the end of the month. Till the end of the month, till the end of the year. If you want to get some for your friends or even enemies, give them a set of videotapes. You get 3 for $100, 3 complete seminar sets, 18 hours each. Plus, you get 2 extra DVD. One is the Garden of Eden. No, here they are. One of my debates that I did against an evolutionist and how to make money and spend it God's way. Now, we do have a DVD separately in our special topic series called The Bible and Health, where we cover things like you covered today about cancer. There are many diseases that people get that are totally unnecessary. They're fixable with a vitamin or a mineral. So, my dad said, son, if you're going to drive a car, you got to learn to check the oil. Like, duh. If you're going to live in a body, you ought to learn what it needs and give it what it needs. If you brought your car to a mechanic and it's making a loud noise in the engine, he said, here, put these headphones on. You won't hear it again. What? Aren't you treating the symptom, not the cause? I'd like to know what's causing the loud noise under the hood, And if you go to a doctor, he says, here, take this pill. It'll take away the pain. Yeah, but what's causing the pain? I don't know, but we can take away the pain. I don't want to take away the pain. I want to take away the cause of the pain. Okay. Duh. Anyway, a lady sent me this picture. I'm baffled. Does anybody? I found it on my property in Berea. I don't remember that. I forgot. Should have looked that up. It's heavy and scaly. I call it my dragon egg. I've never seen another one like it. It weighs 42 pounds and is the size of a medium watermelon. I say it's scaly, but it's not flaky. Nothing will flake off, as it's, hard as a rock. It's non-ferrous. Does anybody have a clue? 42-pound, what is it? I said, I don't know what it is, but if you want to put it on display on loan to our museum, we'll put a sign by it, on loan from, and you can get it whenever you want it, but maybe people will come by and see it. A lot of people have cool stuff at their house, sitting in a closet gathering dust. It ought to be on display for somebody to learn from. So if you got some cool fossils or things like that, send them here. If you don't want to give it, that's fine. How many museums have stuff on loan from? And it's on loan from for 200 years, If the family ever wants it back, you can have it. Okay, the new dining hall Man, it was good last night. We ate in there, and it was awesome. No, it's not all fully done yet, but we're working on it. Now, it all started when Freddie, our camp cook, was looking for a commercial dishwasher for the camp. I said, Freddie, what do you need a dishwasher for? You just put them in the sink and wash them by hand. He said, Brother Hovind, we're running 500 meals a week through here. I think we need a dishwasher. I said, okay, Freddie. He said, I found one in Pensacola, commercial dishwasher for $800. To me, that sounded horrible. I said, Freddie, what do they cost new? He said, $13,455. I said, oh, well, $800 sounds lots better than that. So we went to Pensacola. It turns out the guy had a garage full. He works at the Navy base down there, and they had, the Navy is just every 5 years get a whole new kitchen. It's got to spend the budget money or they lose it. He had a whole garage full, $50,000 worth of stuff, including a dishwasher. He sold it all to us for $1,500. So Freddie and I loaded all that heavy stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we still owe the guy $500.
That's our kitchen now?
Yeah.
Oh, what?
We still owe the guy $500. We didn't quite have enough. So if you want to help us pay him off, that'd be great. Anyway, we got a whole commercial kitchen. People are going to think, wow, it's Dinosaur Adventureland, some fancy place, Anyway, there's our peacocks looking in the mirror. How many have seen them out there? They just sit there for hours staring at each other, trying to figure out who's that bird in the mirror.
I will forever think of some people as peacocks now.
Go to any store where they sell dresses or hats or clothing for women, and you'll see the same thing. Similar thing, okay? Speaking of peacocks, our science center is coming together awesome, and it is really a real science center where you teach creation. God made it all. Last night, the kids did a program that was incredible. Now, let's see if I can get the video clip. That's one of the pictures inside our science center showing part of day 3 and day 4 of, we go to the 7 days of creation, what we do. So the parents came to watch the kids. Let's see, Alt-Tab to the movie and space. We have a Christian school of sorts here where Jonathan's wife, Bethany, teaches the kids of all ages, all at the same time. Try that sometime, okay? Kindergarten through high school. And we have, I think, 17 kids that live here on the property now. Anyway, so that was last night's there's part of day 2 where we talk about air pressure. There's our Taurus cannon that shoots a smoke ring clear across the room. That's pretty cool. And our Venturi vacuum and our Bernoulli blower. We teach about air. Day 2, God made air. Anyway, so kids, congratulations. You did a good job. Saban, you did great. How old are you?
6.
6?
Yeah. 6.
7?
6.
6.
No, this is 6.
How many is this?
10.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6.
Better think about that one. Yeah, that's a joke. I'll teach you later, okay? We had all kinds of stuff going on here at our wonderful, cool science. Come see the place. It's all free. If our ministry has been a blessing to you and you want to help us, we've tried to help you walk with the Lord. No pressure at all. But if you want to help, if you feel compelled of God, I want to help them folks. We need an end of the year gift. We're down to $12,000 now to pay off the debt, be out of debt. So come on down, worship the Lord with us here. We are in Lenox, Alabama, which is straight north of Pensacola, 70 miles right off the interstate in the middle of no place. An old gravel pit, population 37, Lenox, Alabama. There's our front gates. I got the blue one. My wife has the pink one. Your mama can explain that to you later, okay? It's an old gravel pit, big L-shaped property, 10 lakes on the property. We've given actually probably thousands of tours to visitors from all 50 states and 60 foreign countries. They come from everywhere, had 136 baptized in our lake. We just like to win souls to the Lord. Help us to open for free. Join our 777 Club. I want to help them guys win souls. Okay, and that's on drdino.com. We ask folks if they can give $1 a day. Make any checks to CSE, Creation Science Evangelism. Okay, slide number 437. We're trying to finish what I've covered for years on my seminar part 2 in my seminar series about the Garden of Eden. Part 1 is about the age of the earth. Part 2 is about the Garden of Eden. I add stuff every day to my presentation. I work hours a day on this. I'm sometimes middle of the night, wake up at 3 in the morning. Whoa, get these great ideas at 3 in the morning. That's how I got my daughter, but that's another story. Anyway, so He'll tell all these cool, learn all these, add all these slides and stuff. And wow, it's cool. So I really work hard at this and hope you appreciate it. We want to help you get stronger faith in the Lord. It says in 2 Peter chapter 3, knowing this first, there shall come in the last days scoffers walking after their own lusts. 2 verses later, it says they are willingly ignorant. In the Hebrew, that means dumb on purpose, deliberately stupid, willingly ignorant, that by the word of God the heavens were of old, and the earth standing out of the water and in the water, and how the world was overflowed with water and perished. They're ignorant of the flood. What was the creation like? So in this session, we're going to talk about a little bit more about the Garden of Eden. What was it like? I am a firm believer. The earth today has 6 layers in the atmosphere. I think there used to be a 7th layer. This is called the canopy theory. I cannot prove it. That ice canopy is gone. It fell down at the flood. But I think the evidence is overwhelming that there was something different about the earth. So about 6 miles up, I believe, or maybe 10 miles up, somewhere in there, all the air was squeezed down into a smaller container, which gives it a little higher pressure, probably about a 5% boost in air pressure. We wouldn't notice it much, but you'd get more oxygen every time you take a lungful of air. That would explain how the giant dinosaurs had tiny lungs. Think about it, okay? This crystalline canopy of probably 10 miles up made the pre-flood world very different. They could probably hear the music of the stars. We covered that in the last session. And it would block out UV light. It could have been held up like an inflatable building. Extra air pressure could have been held up with the Earth's magnetic field, maybe a tiny bit with centrifugal force. There was also not only a canopy of a couple inches thick ice above the atmosphere, there was water under the crust of the earth. I debated Jeannie Scott. She's the president of an atheist organization in Berkeley, California. There's their homepage. We are a nonprofit tax-exempt membership organization working to defend the teaching of evolution against sectarian attack. We are a nationally recognized clearinghouse for information and advice to keep evolution in the classroom and scientific creationism out. Their whole purpose of existence is to keep guys like me and what I teach out of the classroom. Janie, I'll debate you anytime. You and Skip and the whole bunch of you, all same time. I get half the time, no interrupting. We talk about one topic at a time. Bring it on, honey, okay? National Center for Science Education, a storefront building in Berkeley. I think they got a bigger building now. It was started by Andrew Carnegie, who hated God and hated Christianity, multi-bazillionaire a long time ago, back in the early 1900s. The president is Jeannie Scott. The purpose is to keep creation out. 8 major court decisions against teaching creation science. All the courts have ruled is you cannot require that creation be taught. They've never said you can't teach creation. And teachers, if you want to teach creation, you can. If you want to have me in as a guest in your classroom, that's fine. Call me up. I'll come in by Skype and you can put me up on screen. I'll answer any questions you or the teachers or the faculty or anybody has. I'm not ashamed of what I believe. Call 855-BIG-DINO, extension 1 to schedule a time, or extension 3 to talk to me. Laszlo, you ride with me back and forth looking for parts. How many calls do I get a day? All day long. It just never quits, okay? All day. Lots, okay? So I'll be glad to help. I'll come right in your classroom. Jeannie said in a radio debate I did with her, she said, Dr. Hovind, there are 80 separate layers of coal in the Midwest. She's right. She said, if you look at the amount of coal in the world today, the entire biomass, that's all the plants of the world today, could not possibly be converted to that much fossil fuel. There is so much coal down there. If you took every tree and blade of grass and bush and squeezed it and made it into coal, you couldn't make all the coal that's in the earth. She's right. So she said, there had to be an enormous amount of time involved in laying down the coal seams. Oh, now right there, she's wrong. No, Jeannie, the pre-flood world had lots more trees, lots bigger trees. See, the world before the flood was different. The Bible warned about people like you. It said the scoffers in the last days would be willingly ignorant of how God made the heavens and the earth and how the earth was destroyed by a flood. Today, the earth is 70% underwater. And there are some really big ice caps at the poles where it's pretty tough to grow trees. I think the pre-flood world was very different. God designed it to be inhabited. So there were probably giant trees from pole to pole. They find huge stumps of trees up in northern Canada. Redwood trees, I mean, like 30 feet across. That's a big tree. There are enormous seams of coal in the world. Jeannie, you are right. There's a lot of coal. I mean, way more than we could possibly make with every tree on the planet today. She's right. But she's wrong thinking it took millions of years. See, in her brain, all these forests had to grow, get buried, turn to coal. New forest has to grow, get buried, turn to coal. New forest has to grow, get buried, turn to coal to make all the coal seams. Coal is nearly, I think maybe it's certainly nearly always found in seams. I grew up in Illinois. I used to take tours of coal mines all the time with our science classes. All over the world, petrified trees are found standing up, connecting these layers. These layers all formed in one flood. All that coal formed in one flood. Because the pre-flood world, which the scoffers are ignorant of, had very different situation than we see today. Lots more trees, lots bigger trees. More CO2, filtered sunlight, increased air pressure. The vegetation was enormous before the flood came. Harmonic tide on the earth would be about 200 feet. I'll explain what a harmonic tide is. The tide now comes up and down about 5 or 6 feet average worldwide, okay? And the tide, when it starts coming up, it bangs into stuff because there's continents sticking up through the water where we live, right? So if the tide comes up and bangs into something, it gets the knees knocked out from under it, and it can't get any bigger. So you get about a 5 or 6 foot tide average worldwide. Well, what if there was nothing sticking through the water, like during Noah's flood? Earth covered in water would have a harmonic tide. It would become 200-foot tidal change. 200 feet, if the water came up 200 feet in 6 hours, 12 and a half minutes, that means it's rushing in to fill that bump at the same speed the Earth is turning at that latitude. Here in Lennox, 31 degrees above the equator, we're turning nearly 900 miles an hour toward the east right now. At the equator, it's 1,037.6. At the North Pole, it's 0. So at your latitude, the water's rushing in really fast to fill that big bump, and then rushing out really fast to drain the big bump. The back and forth movement of the water would form thousands of layers, burying forests, and the coal is from the flood, Jeannie. A section of the 100-meter thick coal seam. Can you imagine one seam of coal 330 feet thick? More than a football field?
It's a big forest.
That was a big forest. I think it was a big flood, maybe washed in a huge raft of logs and buried them. Montana. There's the Powder River Basin, a ginormous coal seam. Strip mines have coal seams up to 200 feet thick. The one in Montana is 10,000 square miles of coal. The whole state of Alabama is only, 50,000 square miles? Imagine 10,000 square miles of coal up to 200 feet thick. Jeannie, that would take a lot of trees. You're right. But see, you don't understand the pre-flood world, and you don't understand the original creation, and you don't understand the flood. There's the problem. The coal seam in southern margin of the basin generally have a total thickness of 6 to 188 meters. The thickest total coal seam can be 200 meters. That's 650 feet thick. One coal seam. They dig it out. Laszlo, how'd you like to drive one of those machines?
I wouldn't mind trying.
You would like to try that? A bunch of different levers and stuff to pull. Okay. Here's what happened, Jeannie. The waters under the crust of the earth came rushing out when the fountains of the deep broke open. The scoffers are ignorant of the creation, how it used to be. There used to be water under the crust. That's the way God designed it. I don't know all the reasons why, but that's the way he built it. And it says in the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, the fountains of the great deep were broken up, and the windows of heaven were open, and the rain was upon the earth for 40 days and 40 nights. That's where the flood water came from. It came shooting up and raining back down. The rain was 40 days, but the water kept coming up for 150 days. Read the whole chapter. Anyway, Bible said there'd be scoffers in the last days walking after their own lust, and they'd be willingly ignorant of how God made the heavens. They don't understand. As the water escaped to the top, the crust would sink in a few hundred feet to fill the void and make the earth speed up in its spin. We covered that last time. So this water rushing out is going to do all sorts of things. Widen the crack, allow the center part to bulge up, slide the continents away, create the wrinkled mountains. We covered all that. If the earth were completely smooth, just smooth it out, push all the mountains down, level it out. The water would be 8,810 feet deep everywhere. One atheist I debated said, if there was a flood, where'd all that water go? I said, it's still here. It's in the oceans. They're huge. They average 12,000 feet deep. That's enough water to drown in. 8,800 feet if the earth were smooth. So right now the tide comes up and down 5 or 6 feet. In the middle of the ocean, only a couple feet, tidal bulge, okay? But as it gets near the continents, it comes up. Here's the Bay of Fundy, the greatest tidal change in the world. There it is at high tide, ship floating, low tide, ship is sitting there waiting for the water to come back. The water comes in and out so fast at the Bay of Fundy, they use it to generate electricity. The tidal bore, they call it. The highest tide is in Canada. The biggest one in America is in Alaska at 40-foot tidal change. I was up there at Anchorage, Alaska, and watched the tide come in, comes up 40 feet in a couple hours. Here's what happens. The moon pulls a bump of water up on the earth and holds it like a magnet. We're spinning around under that bump. So we get to see high tide, low tide, high tide, low tide. It would change every 6 hours, except the moon's also moving around the earth once a month, once every 28 days. So it ends up 6 hours, 12 and a half minutes between high tide and low tide. Who cares? Anyway, so right now the moon pulls it up and the earth and the sun pulls it up a little bit. The sun can add to the tide. You can get what's called a spring tide. If the sun and the moon are both pulling the same direction, it gets a little higher, called a spring tide. If the sun and the moon are fighting each other, one pulling this way, one that way, well, then you get a neap tide, lower than average tide. Who cares? Well, the fishermen care. Okay, so if the tide came up and did not get interrupted, it would become harmonic. A harmonic tide would be a 200-foot tidal change. If there were no continents to interrupt the process, a harmonic tide would be 200 feet, and it would change every 6 hours, 12 and a half minutes. We're here in Lenox, Alabama. Lenox, 31 degrees above the equator. You can do the trig on that. We're turning about 886 miles an hour toward the east right now. We'll call it roughly 900 miles an hour. If the water was rushing in to fill that bump, see, we're turning 900 miles an hour, which means the tide, as it goes up 200 feet, where's the water coming from to fill that bump? Sideways. It's constantly being pulled in from the sides by the moon at the same speed the earth is turning. Well, if the water was rushing in at 900 miles an hour for a couple hours, what would that do? It would take all the rocks and roll them against each other like a rock tumbler. How many have ever seen a rock tumbler? Put the rough rocks in there after a couple of days of annoying mom. They all come out rounded, don't they? You know, all over the world, gravel is rounded. And they call it river rock. Oh, no, guys, that's not river rock. That's flood rock. It was destroyed. It was rounded off by a flood in the days of Noah. So if the water was rushing in at 900 miles an hour to fill a 200-foot tidal bump, it would bury the whole forest, knock all the trees down, bury them under a 100-foot layer of mud in 10 minutes. And every couple of days, every day you got 2 or 3 of these tides changing. So the water going up, down, creating liquefaction, I'll cover in a minute, and in, out, creating all kinds of erosion marks and stratification and layering, would make really thick layers of coal. Wyoming has some of the largest coal seams in the world. How's that for a thick seam of coal? That's solid coal.
No smoking there.
No smoking. These coal seams, anthracite coal seam in Cretaceous. Oh, what is Cretaceous? Let's see here. They talk about these coal seams being, if you look at, I looked it up this morning again for the 800th time. How long does it take coal to form? 300 million years ago, the coal formed. The conditions that would eventually create coal began to develop 300 million years ago in the Carboniferous period. Oh, carbon, coal, right? That's why they call it the Carboniferous era. How did coal form? Remains of swamp plants repeatedly covered in sediment as ocean levels rose and fell 320 to 300 million years ago. I forgot. I used to go, treat them like they're holy. 300 million years ago. Oh, yes, massa. Okay. The sediment compressed the plant remains. Heat and pressure from with earth turned the plant remains into coal. So let's see. The formation of coal takes a significant amount of time. We need more time, Kent. We need more. You got to have time and More time, right? Got to turn your frog into a prince. The first coal-bearing rock units appeared 290 to 360 million years ago in the Carboniferous or coal-bearing period. So they tell the kids, new layers accumulate on top of the forest and press it into coal. Guys, stop right there. Stop. Think. If you're capable, think for a minute. Where are these layers coming from? Outer space? They keep saying the top layer is younger in their geologic column. Stop, think. If the top layer is younger, did it come from outer space? If you shuffle a deck of cards, is the top card younger? No. All the layers are the same age. These are the active coal mines right now in America, all over Kentucky and West Virginia, stuff like that. They mine coal like crazy. Coal can form in a few hours. Argonne National Lab showed coal can be formed by heating wood, clay, and water 150 degrees centigrade for 36 weeks. What happened to the 300 million years? They can make it in 36 weeks. Steve Austin did a great article, great video on this years ago from ICR, Institute for Creation Research, ICR.org. Google that. As the logs were floating around in Noah's flood, they're going to drop off a trail of debris that as they float around during Noah's flood, some of the stuff gets waterlogged and sinks to the bottom. And they would leave a debris trail. Then a couple hours later, the wind changes and it blows it the other way, and it leaves another debris trail. Meanwhile, there's been sediments between there. So you're going to get coal, rock. It's going to be stratified. Interesting. Coal is nearly always found in seams. That's why we have strip mines. They strip off the dirt and mine out the coal, strip off the dirt, mine off the coal. Yeah. She said there's 80 separate layers of coal. She's right. If you take a look at the amount of coal in the world, all the plants of the world couldn't make all that coal. She's right. Had to be a lot of time. Oh, Julie, sorry, you're wrong. Okay. These coal mines are huge. The Wyodak coal seam, 25 to 190 feet thick, averaging 100 feet, is the #1 coal-producing bed in the nation. It's in the upper part of the Paleocene Fort Union Formation. 14,000 square miles of coal. That's a lot of coal. Mm-hmm. And they talk about, sub-bituminous and how much ash it produces, etc. The Big George coal seam is in there. It's 113 feet thick. The thickest coal seam is the United States is 250 feet. When they went into one of the coal mines, the Kenilworth coal mine in southeast Utah, as they started mining out the coal, the miners said, hey, look at the ceiling. They were digging through this seam of coal under the rock, and there hanging from the ceiling were hundreds and hundreds of dinosaur footprints. Just type in Kenilworth, Kenilw, Kenilworth mine. I took this picture off the internet a few minutes ago. Petrified tree root system. They look up and there's tree roots that are petrified coming down into the cave they just dug out of the coal. And there's dinosaur footprints hanging up there. Whoa, now hold it. Theropod, hadrosaur. What did they say about it? United States, Utah State University Eastern Prehistoric Museum. They said, when miners began removing coal from underground mines and the Book Cliffs, they uncovered 3- and 4-toed dinosaur tracks. They looked like the animal had been walking on the ceiling. I have a theory, guys. Now listen carefully. During the flood, the water's coming up and down with tidal changes. The animals are running around frantically trying to find some high ground to survive on. So one area gets flooded, knocks all the trees down, makes a layer of mud. Then, a couple hours later, the water runs off because the tide's going down. The dinosaurs run across it while it's still soft, leave their footprints. Next layer comes in, covers it up, compresses to rock, and preserves those footprints during Noah's flood. Let's see. In reality, they were seeing the underside of the footprints hanging from the ceiling. They formed when sand from flood filled the footprints made by dinosaurs walking in a swamp. The wide, rounded, 3-toed tracks were made by a duck-billed dinosaur. The long-toed, 3-toed tracks were made by carnivorous dinosaurs, and the short ones by the chasmosaurs. Some of the tracks have long, swamp mud. On rare occasions, dinosaur bones are found. So in these tracks, this is what they tell the kids when they go to that university to study. The coal was made from the buildup of thousands of years of partially decayed plants called peat. on the bottom of stagnant swamps. These swamps formed along the western coast of the Cretaceous Seaway in an environment that looked like the bayous of Mississippi and Louisiana. Rivers flowing from distant mountains to the west eventually buried the swamps under thick layers of sand and mud. Guys, now think for a minute. Could it be that the tide coming up would bury them under a thick layer of mud in a few minutes? I mean, if the water's going up 200 feet, coming in at 900 miles an hour, well, at that latitude, it'd be some different number. We could figure it out if you'd like. Say it's coming in at 500 miles an hour up in Utah. That's going to make a layer of mud really thick, really quick. Anyway, the Bible said there'd be scoffers. We got them. They're ignorant of how God made the earth. In Kentucky, when Kentucky coal formed? Oh, it formed during the Tertiary and Cretaceous era, 35 to 80 million years ago. No, this other one formed in the Pennsylvanian era, 290 million years ago. I don't think so, guys. But you know, sometimes in coal, they find human artifacts. Let's see. Newton Anderson found a bell inside a lump of coal. Broke the coal open. There's a gold or bronze bell inside there. He still has the bell. Last I heard, I talked to him. It's been a couple of years since I talked to him. How could there be a bell inside a lump of coal? They cut the stem of the bell, that handle, and took out one of those bumps. So they sawed out one of the knobs so they could, and put it back together so they could analyze it. They said this is some kind of alloy that you can't make without being under increased air pressure. These metals won't alloy under regular air pressure. They have to have a higher pressure. Carl Baugh, Glen Rose, Texas, his museum, it got all the reports on this, analysis of the bell. Interesting. There's a lump or cast iron pot found inside a lump of coal in Oklahoma. It's in the Creation Evidence Museum. Carl Ball's got it. We got a copy in our museum, replica. Broke open a lump of coal, and there's a bell in there. I mean, a iron pot for apparently melting metals. Here's the sole of a shoe. You can still see the stitching pattern in the thread. But they said the rock was 213 million years old, proving they had shoes a long time ago. Right, okay. Cover much more on that on seminar part 6 of my series, which you get in here if you want that. Okay. God said there would be herbs, that's plants, bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth. Is it that way today? No. The discovery of thousands of well-preserved leaves in Antarctica has sparked a debate among geologists over whether the polar region, Antarctica, down here at the bottom, for you geographically challenged folks or who went to public school, mentally stunted because of your lack of, they taught you all about, never mind what they taught you about. They didn't teach you stuff you need. Okay. Rather than being blanketed by a massive sheet of ice for millions of years, enjoyed a near-temperate climate. Do you think Antarctica had a near-temperate climate as recently as 3 million years ago? No, I think it had a near-temperate climate as recently as 4,500 years ago, before the flood. Hovind theory, I think the Earth was probably not tilted over 23.5 degrees. I think it was probably more perpendicular in its orbit around the sun. So everybody would get exactly 12 hours daylight, 12 hours darkness. Coming up tomorrow is the shortest day of the year because of the way we're tilted away from the Earth. Winter solstice, who cares? Anyway, there are no trees or shrubs, only 2 species of flowering plants found, Antarctic hairgrass and Antarctic pearlwort. These occur on the South Orkney Islands. They don't have any trees at the South Pole. How do they find all the evidence of leaves, frozen leaves at the South Pole? In January, Mr. Webb and David Harwood, an associate professor of geology, University of Nebraska, and some other people found deposits of leaves on the side of a cliff in a desolate stretch of the Trans-Antarctic Mountains, 250 miles from the South Pole. I think I could explain that. See, I believe the Bible makes it a lot simpler, okay, to understand real science, okay? Today, the Earth is 70% underwater. Most of the rest is ice-capped desert, tundra, treeless mountain ranges. 3% of the Earth is habitable for mankind, but the Bible says he formed it to be inhabited. So something changed. Yeah, the flood messed it up big time. But God will fix it back one day. The pre-flood world probably had increased air pressure, more CO2, filtered sunlight, perfect soil, music from the stars to open the stomata, had 90% land instead of the current 30% land. That's just a guess on my part. Had a watering system at the roots. A mist went forth and watered the face of the ground. Pre-flood world probably loaded with trees, much bigger trees from pole to pole. And any sorting of the fossils that they find is really best explained by a flood. They'll say, Hovind, birds are found on top of the geologic column, and clams are found at the bottom. Yep, I agree with that. I got a clam here somewhere. There's a petrified dinosaur egg. Yes.
Did birds fly?
Well, yeah. They'll say that proves birds evolved last and clams evolved first. I said, no, guys. You see, in a flood, animals are going to be buried based on their habitat. Clams are already at the bottom when the flood starts. That's where they live. They're going to be the first ones buried, right? Birds are the last ones buried because they can fly around till they run out of gas. Of course they're on top. Duh, okay? Secondly, they're sorted based upon their intelligence. As best anybody has been able to figure out, clams are not too smart, okay? Maybe they're sorted based upon mobility. You know, clams can't run very fast. Maybe they're based on their body density. You know, clams are heavier, per square inch or cubic inch than birds. Birds have hollow bones, hollow feathers. They're going to float. Of course, they're buried on top. There's nothing to do with evolution. Not only would you get with the water moving back and forth and the tide pulling the water, moon pulling the water up and down, you would get lots of different things besides just erosion. You would get what's called cavitation. How many of you have ever had a boat and you see cavitation pits on the propeller? A rapidly spinning propeller, the air or the airplanes get it too, but water really doesn't. The water moving past the metal sucks pieces right off. It's called cavitation. They had to shut down the mine in Glen Canyon Dam in Arizona because the water was going so fast through the tubes to make the water let off, the pressure let off. It made a giant cavitation cave. It actually sucked the rock. That's all formed by suction, sucking the rock out of the way from cavitation. Then you get a phenomenon called liquefaction. So when the high part of the wave comes by, it presses the dirt and sand down. And when the low part comes by, it relieves the pressure. You can go out to the beach and stand there in knee-deep water. And as the waves come in, look down at your feet and watch what's happening. When the high part of the wave is there, it presses the sand down. When the low part of the wave comes past, the pressure is relieved and the sand grains are hopping up off the bottom, landing on top of your feet. You can stand there, don't move a muscle for 10 minutes, and you'll be buried ankle deep in sand without moving at all from a phenomenon called liquefaction. Global liquefaction. The high tide, low tide, or just the waves coming back is going to lift and sort all the particles down below. This happens during an earthquake. In Japan, they have earthquakes. It shakes the ground, and the buildings will sink in. That one on the far right, that's the top of the building leaning over to the left. It tilted that far because of ground liquefaction. The ground becomes like a liquid. Yeah, Google it, okay? Now, there's no question there is evidence of ice age coming clear down to Kansas City, Missouri. So where does the ice age fit into the Bible? Well, we're going to cover that in the next session. So, 11:49. There, hang on, right. Summarize. I added a bunch of slides in here. I forgot to change the number. Hang on a second. Right here. Okay. So we'll cover about the Ice Age in the next session tomorrow night. I think the best explanation of all the geology we see on the planet, the coal, the stratification, the caves, the canyons, Grand Canyon, and the ice, is all best explained by Noah's flood. But the Bible says the scoffers in the last days would be willingly ignorant of that flood. They do not want that to be true. They don't want God telling them what to do. The Bible says in 6 days, the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is. God wrote this on a rock with his own finger and handed it to Moses, part of the 10 Commandments. Someday you're going to stand before God. He's going to say, I told you I made it all in 6 days. My book clearly shows it was about 6,000 years ago. Why would you think I lied? How's it going to hold up Judgment Day? I know you atheists, there's going to be a Judgment Day. Okay. I'll see you there. Remind you that you said that. Okay. He said there would be scoffers in the last days walking after their own lust who would be willingly ignorant of the creation, the flood, and the coming judgment. God's going to say, you think your little scientists were smarter than me? He's going to say, Matthew 7, depart from me, you that work iniquity. I never knew you. Now, he's not willing that any should perish. He would like everybody to come to heaven. And if you don't want to go, that's your choice. But our ministry exists to at least warn you. God always sent prophets to tell the people, hey, here's what's going to happen. Some would say, yeah, we better listen to that guy. God sent Jonah. Jonah, go to Nineveh, preach against them. Tell them what's going to happen. Jonah said, they're wicked. I don't want to go. He went the other way. God said, Jonah, let me explain it to you. I'm going to send you through Wales Seminary for a couple days. See if we can teach you a little bit about the Bible, okay? And 3 days later, he got puked up on the shore. God said, Jonah, go to Nineveh. Yes, sir, Lord, I am taken off. And he went to Nineveh. And he went through that town preaching. He was so thrilled those people were going to get killed. He hated them. He said, 40 days and Nineveh is going to be overthrown. I can't wait. You're all going to hell. Ha, ha, ha. You can actually warn people that you hate. If God tells you to give them the message, give them the message. Okay, I'm giving you all the message. There's a judgment day coming. And God's not willing that any should perish. He wants you to come to heaven. But if you don't want to, it's your choice. You're going to be dead for a long time. Really long time. All you get in this life is a little bitty dash between two dates. That's all you get. I would suggest you use it for God. Showed you the other day, Wayne Strickland said, I'm an atheist. I'm a busy man. Don't have time for this. Well, I found his tombstone. Wayne, you know better now, don't you? Let's see. Wayne died 2005. He lived quite a while. 78 years. But still died, didn't you, Wayne? Doesn't matter how long you live. You're going to be dead longer than that. Long time. George Washington died in 1799. He's still dead. And he just got started. He's just getting started. What are you doing? Now, if you're a Christian, what on earth are you doing for heaven's sake? Can't you find something to do? When I was teaching school, I asked Dr. Johnny Pope's dad, Julian Pope, I said, Dr. Pope, how do you know God's will for your life? He said, oh, Brother Hovind, that's easy. I said, well, tell me, I'm going to write it down. He said, you'll remember this. You want to know God's will for your life? Find a need and fill it. What's the greatest need that you can see? Does the world need more carpenters? Do we need more plumbers? Do we need more mechanics? What do we need? He said, don't tell me, go think about it. I went home, prayed and cried. I said, Lord, what do you want me to do? You've given me certain skills. You didn't call me to be a mother, obviously. I mean, what did he give you and what does he want from you? I think he gave me the ability to keep things simple where people can say, I understood that guy. Make it easy. I'm not trying to impress anybody. I just want people to understand the Bible is true. At the time, I was reading all the books by Henry Morris and Dwayne Gish and all those creationists. I said, man, what they have is great stuff, but nobody's understanding what they say. They use all these words this big, and I said, I don't even know. Break it up, please. Calm it, chew it up first and spit it in my mouth. What did he say? So I said, I think the world needs somebody to teach the creation message at a 4th grade level. God said, you got it, son. Go do it. And some of you have come here and said, I think he's delivering a good message. I want to help. I'll fix the car, Brother Hovind, so you can go preach. Good. Check my tire pressure, please. I want to get my message ready. And happy birthday, Will. You've been here doing mechanic work, fixing all that kind of stuff. I used to do all that. I know how to do mechanic work. I know about the high-speed muffler bearings and Canute valves and all that kind of stuff. But I don't have time. I'd rather do this. What are you doing? If you're a Christian, maybe God's given you the ability to make money. Some people have that ability. That's not so you can buy a new car every year. If you're God's child, it might be so you can support some ministry that's getting the gospel out. You could live in a normal house like normal people and get 50 missionaries out there. Who did I meet that one time that's personally supported, I think full-time, 20 or 30 missionaries. Their full-time support from one person who was a multimillionaire. He just knew how to make money. Yay. Support a missionary with it. Duh. You don't need a Ferrari. You need support people trying to get the gospel out. Okay. All right. Any questions from the group here? Yes, sir.
I just want to make a comment on the coal seams. In every area, it seems that the atheist community, I have no problem with the working theory, but they miss the observation. So like in the example with the coal seams, where on earth is peat moss meeting the biomass purity to create coal. Like right now, peat moss has a whole bunch of dirt and sand and other things in it.
The purity issue is another big issue because it's pure coal. Now, sometimes there's contaminants in there, but any coal miner will tell you, man, we dig it out and chop it up and burn it.
And so it's one, pure biomass. Two, if it's to the purity of like andesite, it takes 10 times the amount.
Right.
So that means that was that 200-foot layer was originally 2,000 foot.
Yeah, about 10 to 1 compression to change to anthracite coal. I know.
Right. And so that's 2,000 foot of pure biomass.
Right. Now we'll get into some other time, or part 6 I get into about when the mountains arose, Psalm 104, at the end of the flood, the mountains arose. Well, if there's some kind of force pushing the mountains up, that pressure is going to change the bituminous into anthracite from the mountains pushing up. It's the high pressure. You either get the depth of burial or the pressure of the mountains lifting. Good point. Okay, somebody else had one? Yes, sir. Mitch, did you have a question? Oh, okay. All right, Steve, any on here I need to take?
No.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us, folks. Now listen carefully. The Bible's true. Every bit of it. You can trust it. Hang in there. The Bible says it's going to get really, really bad for a short time. It's coming soon. Hovind Theory, 2021. We see the start of it. I don't know. Maybe not. Get my book, What on Earth is About to Happen. I think they're out of print now, aren't they, Steve? We have to get more in.
Yeah, we gotta order more.
We did, or are we going to?
We do. Yeah, they can order them.
You can order them. We'll get it to you as quick as we get it. It's coming. We do have the DVDs available.
It's not like it's that.
Yeah, we do have the DVDs, my series on, whoa, what on earth is about to happen? If you want to see what's coming, I think starting soon in a city near you. Okay, anybody else? Questions here? Thank you so much. See you tomorrow. Bye. All right, thank you.